Hey, it's Rick Kettner here, and in this video, we're going to cover 4 marketing mistakes that new businesses make. These are mistakes that you're going to want to avoid if you're launching a new product, a new service, or an entirely new business, because if you can avoid these mistakes, you significantly improve your odds for success. Now, if you're interested in learning more about how to build and grow your business, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future videos. But let's dive into the list. Number 1 on the list, the first mistake, treating marketing as an afterthought. This is incredibly common, especially for first-time entrepreneurs, but it's something that also affects experienced entrepreneurs because in many cases, we're so excited about building out the product or building out the service or coming up with the brand name or building out the website, building out the team and the office, whatever it might be, that we tend to forget the importance of marketing. This is really important because ideally, and you might be watching this video having just experienced this, maybe you've built out your product, you've built out your service, and now you're thinking, okay, I'm ready to market it. How am I going to sell this thing? Ideally, you want to be thinking about these things right from the start because the number one reason why new businesses fail is they aren't able to attract enough customers. So you want to be thinking about marketing right from the very beginning. Specifically, you want to be thinking about things like, who is the ideal customer for this product? How can I get in front of them, not only enough of them, but in a cost-effective or profitable way? And you want to be thinking about things like testing your product as early as possible to get their feedback. And a big part of this is also understanding the language that they use when describing their problem, their frustration, their friction, or whatever it is that you're trying to solve, and how they describe the product itself, how they talk about whatever it is that you're building. Because ultimately, when you're actually crafting marketing messages, coming up with ads, coming up with your landing page copy, you really want to use the language of your audience and not try to educate them on how you would describe something, but just speak to them in the way that is natural and how they already perceive the product. So it's really important to focus on marketing right from the very beginning because, like I say, this is the number one reason why new businesses fail. They can't find enough customers or they're not able to convert them profitably. And so as early as possible in the process, we want to be thinking about these things. I know there's a temptation, I've fallen into this a lot over the years, where you want to work on this secretive project and then just announce it out to the public. But you want to find some way as early as possible to start getting feedback from people, not only for the marketing side of things, but also to adjust and improve the product based on their thoughts, based on their reactions, and based on their feedback. So really important to not just tag marketing on as this afterthought, building out the whole thing, and then saying, okay, now it's time to sell it. It's one process. It's one process. Now, one book that I absolutely love that actually talks about this a lot, and this is a book that I recommend often here on the channel, especially to new businesses that are falling into this trap. And believe me, I've fallen into this trap many, many times over the years. This book focuses on how to attract your first customers. It covers 19 different traction channels that you can use to attract customers. But more importantly, in my opinion, it also covers a lot of tips and ideas and frameworks for how to approach this balance between building the product and finding ways to market it. So a very important book if you're starting a new business and you're at all worried or you're wanting to address this particular issue. Okay, next on the list, mistake number 2, targeting a broad and generic market. This is very common as well. I think as entrepreneurs, we typically think if we want to find success, we need to aim as big as possible. We need to attract as many possible customers as quickly as possible. But the reality is it's incredibly difficult to disrupt the status quo, to actually create momentum and get people to buy something that is new. And I think a lot of the challenge here actually comes from the fact that most of us as entrepreneurs are actually excited about new and different things. And sometimes we don't realize that the overwhelming majority of consumers out there are very hesitant to try new things and rarely buy new things until they at least know somebody else that is either interested in it or has purchased it themselves. So it's really important to find one core audience that you can sell to. And part of this is that you can build momentum with word-of-mouth referral, but the other part of it is just having your marketing message completely tailored to one specific audience. So even if your product or service truly has broad generic market appeal, and there are a lot of people out there that would be interested in it if they could buy it, you really want to direct all of your marketing efforts around one core audience, customize your marketing to them, make it very clear that this product can benefit them, and find an audience with two characteristics. Number one, you want an audience that's genuinely enthusiastic about whatever it is that you're creating. And number two, you want an audience that communicates with each other. In other words, you don't want to select a target audience that's narrow like doctors around the world. Well, you might have a doctor in this country, a doctor in that country, a doctor in another country. They might never communicate with each other, or not at least very often. And so it's incredibly important to select an audience that naturally communicates with each other so that you can benefit from word of mouth and actually generate momentum. So for example, a better audience would be maybe new moms in a specific area, where it's very likely that they're going to share tips and advice and ask questions and communicate with each other on a regular basis. So you want to figure out this audience. You want to figure out where do they communicate? How do they communicate? Do they meet in online forums, online discussion groups, Facebook groups? Maybe they meet in person. Maybe they just know each other and it's casual, ongoing contact that they have. But it's really important to find an audience that, like I say, is very excited about what you're doing and is enthusiastic about what you're doing and is likely to be able to spread that message to other people so that you can build momentum and slowly expand and reach more and more people in other related markets. Now, a book that talks a lot about this is This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. He describes this as creating a movement. You really want to create a movement. And he describes this idea of one core audience as the smallest viable market. And I love this language. It actually borrows from minimum viable product, a concept from lean startup. But this idea of viable is really important. You want to find an audience that's small enough to be hyper-focused, but also large enough that it's viable, that you can actually get your business to a certain stage. Maybe you're cash flow neutral, maybe you're cash flow positive. You want to reach a point where if you were to attract a decent portion of these customers, your business would be in a healthy spot. And then, of course, the plan is to expand outward from there. So this book focuses a lot on building a movement, but it does cover a lot of other things as well, so I don't want to just kind of limit its scope. But if you're interested in this idea, I do recommend that you read this book so that you can learn how to create a movement and actually get some momentum started with your brand new business or your brand new product. Okay, mistake number 3, assuming prospects understand your product. This is another really big one. All of these are big, that's why they're on the list, but this is another one that's really big because often customers are not nearly as invested in understanding or researching our products as we might like to believe. And the fact is, something I talk about often here on the channel, we're often very focused, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as other people on the team, we all understand exactly what we do. We understand what products we have. We understand who they're intended for and how they can help people. And we often make the mistake of assuming other people understand these things and that they get it. And the result of this is that, and this is way too common, you land on somebody's website and it's not even remotely clear what they do and how they can help you. They get too creative, they get too subtle, they get too technical, they get too flowery, whatever it might be, and the language they use is just not very clear at all. You might land on a site and it says, "We revolutionize mobile communication," and you're just thinking, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And the unfortunate reality, like I say, most customers aren't that interested in figuring it out. So they might look at the headline, they might scroll down the page a little bit, read a few other bullet points or a few other headlines, look at some images. If it's not immediately clear what you do and how you can help them, they're gone. And they might never come back to your website ever again. Even if you have a retargeting campaign, they might not even be a good fit for your website. So the point here is you want to make it painfully obvious who you are, what you do, and how you can help people. And this is really important for a whole bunch of reasons. Number one, obviously, you want to convert prospects into customers. You want to make it as easy as possible for them to understand what you do and how it can benefit them so they might consider purchasing. But just as important is the faster they can digest your message, even if they're not interested in what you sell, it's more likely that they're going to recommend somebody else whenever they hear that somebody else needs whatever it is that you sell. They might talk to a friend and say, "Hey, I think I know a company that offers that exact solution." So the easier it is that you make it for people to quickly, like within seconds, understand what you do and how you can help, it has all kinds of benefits. Really, really important. And a big thing to keep in mind here is to speak in absolute plain language. not to get all technical, not to get all flowery, not to try to impress them. You just want to make it really clear. Here's what we do and here's how we can help. Now, a great resource on this, one that I recommend often here on the channel, is Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And as I've said countless times on the channel, there are so many good books out there on brand communication, but this is one of my favorites because it has a very simple and powerful approach. And so if you're still exploring the whole world of brand communication, and if you're a brand new company, the fact is you might not yet really know how you provide value for people. I had an interesting story from maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I was crossing the US-Canada border, and the border agent asked me, "So what do you do?" And well, I'm always nervous when I'm crossing borders. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. But I'm crossing the border. I'm somewhat nervous. He asked me what I do, and I'm stumbling over my words because I was building a relatively new business at the time, and I wasn't entirely clear on exactly what I was doing yet, or at least I didn't have a clear message. I didn't have my elevator speech down of exactly, oh, here's what I do, here's how we help people. So a book like this is super important, and it's very important, especially as a new company, that you quickly prioritize figuring out what you do to help people and how you can communicate to them very effectively around that. So I think they describe here, clarify your message so customers will listen. That's really the idea here. You want to make it very easy for people to figure out what you do and how you can help them. Okay, moving on. Mistake number 4, failing to identify a product's core value. This is another all too common mistake. And this often results when the entrepreneur is heavily involved in the actual idea or the product or service itself, because often we just assume that we understand what the product is and how it can benefit people. I mean, we created it, or we at least played a critical role in creating it, so we think that we get it. And the problem is there's often a huge disconnect between the original intent of the product and how customers are actually using it. And this gap really makes for really inefficient marketing. So for example, let's say you're creating online guitar lessons, and you're the founder, you're the entrepreneur. Maybe you've been playing guitar for 20 plus years. You're very passionate about playing the guitar. And so you think, okay, this is an educational product. I need to make the best library of step-by-step videos all the way from beginner to advanced. Everything they could ever want to learn, and I want to cover it thoroughly, multi-angle video, step-by-step instruction. We got to make this the best educational product out there, right? Then you start talking to customers, which you should do. That's very important. You talk to customers and you start finding out most of them are hobbyists. They do this for fun. They love the community aspect of it. They like hanging out in the discussion forum part of the website. They like watching or tuning into the live video broadcasts, mostly because they get to hang out with other guitarists. Maybe they're nearly retired or they're already retired, and this is just an outlet for them. It's a way to connect with people, and they've always dabbled with playing the guitar, so this is just a great community to be a part of. Well, this is not an educational product anymore. This is a community. You're building a community, and when you recognize that, it's really interesting because if all of your marketing is directed toward the idea of being the best educational product, and even still, despite that, being a filter of sorts, you're still ending up with customers that are largely interested in hanging out and having fun and connecting with other guitarists. They love the idea of learning, but not necessarily putting in crazy amounts of time. And they're okay paying you for your lessons, even though they largely just hang out with each other. When you find that out, despite your marketing being selling one thing and they're all wanting something else, that's a big red flag. It tells you, number one, your marketing should be focused on selling what they actually want, because you're probably leaving a whole bunch of people where they exit the site thinking, oh, this looks a little too advanced for me. It doesn't really look like it's designed for me. So you're losing out a bunch of sales. And just as importantly, on the product development side, there's probably a lot you could be doing to enhance the features that people actually love. So a big part of this is communicating with customers. Just as importantly is looking at data whenever it's available. You really want to study the data because oftentimes people can't necessarily communicate or verbalize what it is that they love about a product. But if you look at the hard data, let's say the website analytics or the mobile app analytics, and see what features they're actually using, that can speak volumes about what actually matters most to them. And even though you don't want to pull away entirely from maybe the educational side, you really want to highlight, and maybe in your sales site, focus on imagery and other things that make it clear this is a community and this is for people that just want to hang out and have fun playing the guitar. So a really good book on the subject, and this book covers a lot about how to grow your business. So I don't want to just put it in like one little one little theme here. It covers so much more than just addressing this one problem. But they talk a lot about this book about discovering the core value of your product, getting super clear on what it is that customers love most about your product, what separates the customers that don't get it. Maybe they join the community or join the product, and if it's a physical product, it ends up in the closet pretty soon. Or if it's an online community, they end up canceling their membership. What is it that their experience is like? And what is the difference between the people that absolutely love the product, come back over and over again, use it more often? Again, whether it's a physical product or an online product, you can differentiate between the people that love it and use it and the people that don't engage and end up kind of dropping off, so to speak. So you want to figure out what that is. And ideally, when you figure out that core feature that these people absolutely love, this book is all about finding ways to get more people to experience that part of the product, to optimize your marketing around getting more and more people to understand that value proposition and to experience it firsthand so that they're as excited and as enthusiastic about what you're offering as those best performing customers. So a really good book if you're interested in that. Just generally a really great read in general. Like, they cover so much more in this book, but yeah, really good book if you're trying to address and understand the core value of your product so that you can focus more on that, not only in the marketing, but also on the product side as well. So those are the 4 mistakes. Let's quickly recap them here. Treating marketing as an afterthought, targeting a broad and generic market, assuming that prospects understand your product, and failing to identify a product's core value. So the general theme here is you want to, as soon as possible, focus on marketing, connect with customers, understand how they view whatever it is that you're building, and seek to understand how you can direct more of not only your marketing, but also your product side around what they appreciate most about what you're doing. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button down below to let me know. It also helps promote the video here on YouTube to reach a larger audience. And of course, if you're interested in learning more about how to build and grow your business, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future videos. And if you have any questions or suggestions or ideas based on what we covered here, don't hesitate to leave a comment down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.